Hello, everybody, and welcome to Snyderman Teaches, the series that looks at historical events and their importance to modern society. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below about what topic you want me to cover next, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. You may also start following me on Twitter and my Facebook page. I will leave those links in the description below. But with that, let's cover some more Hamilton today. Okay, so I know I'm about a week late to this party, but there was something at the very end of Hamilton the musical that I caught after rewatching it that I think needs to be discussed, and that is the gasp at the very end of the show. Okay, so at the end of the musical, Eliza is on stage with the rest of the cast of Hamilton. She is talking about how she helped preserve Alexander's legacy, how she raised funds for the Washington Monument, how she built the first private orphanage in New York City. And then we see her meet Alexander, or at least we think it is, and he takes her by the hand, leads her up to the stage, and that is when we see and hear Eliza do this. At this point, it's important to note that nobody knows for sure what this gasp means. There's some theories that are kicking around out there. Lin-Manuel Miranda has tweeted out saying that the gasp is the gasp is the gasp, so he's not going to provide any answers. He did acknowledge that he likes the different theories that are out there. He enjoys people talking about what these could potentially mean. One theory is that Eliza is just seeing Alexander or Philip in heaven, and that's giving her kind of this joyous gasp. The second theory is that she's just seeing heaven itself, and that is making her overjoyed. The third theory, though, is my absolute favorite, and it's the one that we're talking about in this video. It's Eliza seeing the audience. It's Lynn, not Hamilton, that is leading her to the front of the stage and showing her, this is what I've done for you. I'm telling your story. And Eliza being overwhelmed with the fact that her and Alexander's story are finally being told. That leads us into what this video is all about: silences within history. What I mean by silences is the fact that the victors tell the story. All throughout history, there are individuals and groups of individuals that don't get their stories told because somehow along the way their stories have gotten lost in the narrative, or some historians have deemed their side of the story not important enough to tell. And that's really the unfortunate side effect of my subject. What I do for a living is there is no way to cover history in its entirety. There's just too much of it, and it's constantly being built. But unmuting those silences, giving voices back to individuals and groups that have lost their voice to the historical narrative is critical, because it gives us a more complete picture of what humanity is today. It tells us who we are as people. And I kind of liken historians to radio broadcasters for sporting events. If you're listening to a football game, basketball game, soccer game, baseball game, any athletic event on the radio, the only information you're getting about that event is what the announcer is telling you. You don't get any more than that. And it's the same thing with history. You are only getting told the stories that historians are choosing to tell you. If you want to know more about silences, there's a great book by Michael Rolfe Treleault called Silencing the Past. I encourage you to pick that up if you want to know more. But what's really cool is Treleault says that there are really 4 points where silences enter history. And that is, first, in fact, creation. This is where we actually create our sources. Sometimes people's voices don't get included in the sources that we create or were created at the time. So that creates silences themselves. The second is during fact assembly. What this means is the building of historical archives, building of historical fact as a way to tell certain narratives. The third is historical significance. When you are looking at what makes a historical person or group of people or event important, sometimes historians deem those people or events unimportant and choose not to tell their story. And the fourth is what Lynn did with Hamilton, and that is the retrieval of fact, the creation of a narrative. Okay? When you create a narrative, sometimes there's going to be some things that are silent, sometimes there's going to be things that are left out. Sometimes when you do fact retrieval, you are unmuting silences. And that's what makes Eliza so important. She and Alexander were unsilenced by Miranda. Their stories are now being told. And let's be honest, Miranda fixed a silence. You might have heard of Hamilton before the musical came out, probably. You probably knew he was on the $10 bill. You might have known his financial plans for the country at its founding. You might have known he was shot by Aaron Burr, but it's because of Miranda that we know more about Hamilton. Now, we've talked about before the problem with just using the musical as a way to study revolutionary America. If you haven't seen that video or want to check it out again, hit the link up above. With that, this has been Hamilton and Silences. Have a great day, guys. See ya.